All right. We're officially recording. Before I get started with everything, though, Lindsay, I know you may head on out in just a second, very possibly. So if you would like to, we'll start with introductions before I introduce myself, just in case you need to go to class. So if you would like to do a quick introduction to the rest of the group here, that'd be wonderful.
Sure, thanks. I'm Lindsay Groves. I live in Kalispell, Montana. I graduated with a degree in tech writing from Utah State University many years ago. And I've worked in the interim as front desk in a couple of different medical offices, and I've been a stay-at-home mom for the past 3 years. And I decided to get my master's degree to become an English teacher, hopefully at the community college here in Kalispell when I finish and when my youngest daughter goes to school. So
Awesome. Well,
that's
nice
what
to
I'm doing,
meet
and
you.
I'm here.
I think Beth Shirley. I don't. Have you met her yet?
I have not.
She's
I took Gretchen's class over the summer, her Shakespeare class. This is only my second class in the program.
So Beth Shirley, she does something with writing. She's in the rhetoric side of things, and I think she's a Utah State technical writer of some sort. I think that's where she got her PhD. So y'all will have to connect. I'm pretty sure that's at least maybe there's some connection there. I don't know.
Great. And she's here.
She's here. She's in the English department. Yeah. So
Oh,
she's in the
great.
rhetoric
Okay.
side. So y'all may have that in common.
Great.
Cool. Well, nice to meet you again. If you need to dip out and go to your literary landscapes class, that's fine as well. Jake popped in. I saw too. I'm excited to see you as well. And so, Jake, what we're doing right now is just some brief introductions since we have a cozy smaller group this evening. I don't know if you'd like to kick things off as well and sort of introduce yourself.
Or me introduce myself?
Yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself, Jake. Sorry, and then I'll introduce myself last.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Christina, by the way. Good to see you again. Yeah, I'm Jake Lyle. Will, it's nice to meet you. I had the YWP with your wife over the summer. She's a great rider and hits really hard with a pool noodle. Um, I teach English here at Bozeman High School. I teach AP American literature combined with American history. So I teach with alongside a history teacher. Then I teach Tier 2 co-lab sophomore English. So I teach alongside a special ed teacher. And then I teach Bridger Charter Academy, which is our alternative school. I teach freshmen and sophomores, and at the same time in the same room. So I'm going to make them put headphones in. All freshmen put headphones in and turn the other way and do work while I teach sophomores and vice versa. So I got an interesting class load this year, and then I may actually end up teaching at MSU as well this semester. I'm teaching an English methods course in the MAT program, and then I do student council here and Leo Club.
You're just doing the most, Jake.
Wearing a
Um,
lot of hats, right?
I
Like
um,
I'm not going to keep that straight. I'm telling you straight up. I won't know what you're doing at any given time. So that's well, I'm glad we have this recording at least for posterity's sake so we can figure out where Jake might be at any given time doing what job and whose job he's doing. So wonderful. Thank you for letting us know, Jake. Nice to meet you finally. Nicole, you want to take it away too? Then just quick introduction about a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Nicole. I'm in GTA at MSU, second year. Um, I'm an AEE major. Um, I used to teach at Gallatin College in the interior design department before I switched back over to my true love, English. Um, I used to have a I used to be a wellness coach and have a wellness business, and I used to be a lot of things, and now I'm this. So
You're this for now, and
I'm
who
all the
knows what
love
you'll
I
be
can
in the
give you today.
future. Yeah, lovely. You
Yes.
so You've done everything sort of similar to Jake. It's just you've spread yours out. It feels like Jake's just going to knock out
Yes,
doing all the things at once, and you've been doing things a little bit at a time. Awesome, Nicole.
right.
Thank
Plus,
you.
yeah, plus 20 years. So
Well,
probably.
There's that too. Sure, exactly. Wonderful. Thank you, Nicole. Nice to see you as always. Christina, would you like to take things over here?
Okay. Hey, y'all. I'm Christina. Yes, I'm Dr. Fassbender's wife, but don't worry, we have like a whole legit COI plan in place. Like, so in case y'all are thinking anything. I am a GTA with Nicole. It's my first year. I got my undergrad in English, and then I spent 10 years teaching middle school language arts in high school, English 3, and I'm currently teaching English 3 high school online for North Carolina, and going to grad school. And then the past 19 months, I have been a stay-at-home mom, and I hated every minute of it. And I was like, I need to do something. And so I got into this program. And so I am super excited about it. And this is Whitman, and he needed to be a part of this meeting.
Hi, Whitman. Good to
Can
see
you say
you.
hi?
No. Cute child you got there. Really lovely young man. All right. So thank y'all for being here. I know that this is a super crazy busy time. I just want to take a second to introduce myself. I'm Will Fassbender. Y'all can call me Will. That's one of the many perks of being in a master's program. You do not need to call me Dr. Fassbender. Totally fine. I am excited to be here. This is our second year in Bozeman, so we're really pumped to be here and trying to build up this MAEEE program. We're just really excited to have those of you who are here because the thing that we value the most in this master's program is different perspectives. And so the more the merrier, and we're really excited that we have so many different people from so many different walks of life, from so many different careers with so many different backgrounds, bringing their brilliance and genius into this program. And no doubt y'all are part of what makes this program so amazing. I won't waste too much of your time this evening. The goal really is to just go through the syllabus, talk about some of the bigger projects that we have going on as a way of trying to get y'all situated and to give you a better idea of what's going on this semester. We will not be one of those semi-online, offline types of things. This is a totally 100% online program, except for this evening. So this is your opportunity to answer or ask questions and have them hopefully answered. If you need anything as of this point, or you just need some clarification, this is your opportunity to do so. This is being recorded so that I can pass this along to those who could not be here this evening. And so the idea really is that this is done completely asynchronously. So we will not have any time, at least as of this point, unless things change and y'all really would like to have some synchronous time. This will be a completely asynchronous course. And so 560, English 560, ENGL 560 is Foundations of English Education. And this is the, of course, master's level course for that. The idea behind this is really to try to provide you with some foundations, some roots, some understanding of where the field of education, English education in particular, has been, where it's going, and where we are today. So it's to try to provide you with a little bit of that footing. And I know that's a little bit awkward. Some of you have been English teachers for a while. Some of you don't have any experience with teaching secondary English, and that's great as well. I think that anybody and everybody, if they looked hard enough, would figure out that they're a teacher of something. And so I'm asking you to sort of investigate that and consider to what extent the different experiences that you have on a daily basis situate you as a teacher. But we're also going to be looking at what it means to be a teacher. And so trying to do some of that conceptual underpinning is really the nature of this course. If you are curious, I suppose I could have started with this. Our syllabus and everything is in D2L. You just have to click on the syllabus and schedule area there, and that's where you'll find this if you would like a copy of yours for you to look at it on your own. But the idea really is to zoom out, to think this is not a curriculum kind of course. This is not like looking at specific things that are happening in classrooms. If you think about it this way, we are looking at like the 30,000 foot view of English education, as opposed to being in the nitty gritty of the day-to-day classroom activities. That's done by design. So that's done purposefully so that you can have a better idea of what this field of English education truly is. The course objectives are for y'all to develop an understanding of various competing histories of and purposes for teaching the secondary school subject of English. We will talk about what we mean by the school subject English versus English outside of the classroom, versus literacies, versus what's the difference between writing and composition. So we'll be talking about that and really teasing out these different ideas, because that's important to have, I think, some precision when we're talking about these types of concepts. You'll be able to evaluate existing curricula and develop new approaches for varied grade levels and contexts. So there will be a curricular connection, but again, that's going to be you making those connections. You won't get that through the readings. And then develop an ability to articulate pressing socio-political and socio-cultural issues and consider how they impact teaching and learning. That's very specific to our program. Whether you're undergrad or graduate, something that's really important to us as English education faculty is that there is a socio-cultural read, social justice there bent to anything that we do. It's the purpose of what we think education can do. We do believe education, English education in particular, to be an emancipatory act. And so that is why we think English education matters a whole heck of a lot. That is also why, as we jump down here, our one text that you will have to read this semester is Paulo Freire's Pedagogy of the Oppressed. I don't really have a strong feeling for which edition you have, whether it's, and I put this in the email, whether it's the 2005 edition or the 2018. I think there was a 2018 one, which was supposed to be the 50th anniversary edition. The editions themselves don't matter a lot to me. The only reason that they keep coming out with them is because it's an important book, and probably the introduction changed just a bit, and they do that so that they can make money. So I'm not going to hold your feet to the fire with regard to which version of the text you get, but whatever version you get, make sure it's a book that works for you. I will say that I looked at the Country Bookshelf for those of you who are here in Bozeman, and the price was actually double that of Amazon. So even though I'm not a huge Amazon fan and I won't promote it for you, I will promote it for personal reasons because I do use Amazon. But as far as I like to push for books, at least indie bookstores in particular, I'm not going to be upset if you choose to go with the $18 copy of Pedagogy of the Oppressed versus the $36 version. It doesn't make any sense to me why you would pay double for that. So if you can find a cheaper version, that'd be great. I did not get it here at the bookstore because the bookstore tends to be rather unreliable, is what I will say. And so I didn't get it at the bookstore.
Well,
Yeah. Yes.
I ordered, and I know I kind of feel the same way, but I got mine like ordered from Vargo's for $30.
Okay.
I don't know if that's any better. I know, but like it's still, I don't know.
It's still not Amazon.
Yeah.
So
Just FYI.
yeah, and so if you can find it at a decent price, and for those of you who are finding them at decent prices in independent bookstores or independent online booksellers, please buy things from them. I want them to stay in business because I love bookstores. But again, if you find them, I'm not going to begrudge anybody for trying to save some money too, because you're, after all, paying for this class, and you get to decide where you'd like to get your book. So, Vargos, is that what you said, Nicole?
Yeah, Bardo's. It's downtown. It's just like maybe
Oh, right. The book slash jazz shop. Yes, I know what you're talking
yeah.
about.
I was
Yes,
hoping to find it used, but unfortunately no, and I just went for it and had them order it. So
sweet.
yeah.
Thank you. Okay, and so there you do have some options at least. You know, I'm not going to hunt you down and ask you where you got your copy. Just get a copy. That's the long and short of it. So a good chunk of the readings actually are going to go in D2L. I made two high quality of readings, and so when you go into the readings here, like I got cut off because my collection of books was larger than the 2 GB minimum. So I'm going to probably send out a different version of that book list, probably a compressed version or something like that. That way you can have all the copies that you need sooner than later. Sorry, my dog is pawing at the door because of the storms. I'll be right back. Just happy I didn't wear sweatpants this evening, so that's good for me that y'all didn't see me walk around in sweatpants and a button-down shirt. All right, so a bunch of the articles will be inside of D2L. So the only book you need to purchase is this Pedagogy of the Oppressed. Structure of the class is that we will be starting each week on Wednesdays. So that's why we're meeting this evening. I probably should have planned differently since a lot of you or some folks are in class this evening, but we'll start on Wednesdays, which means a lot of your assignments will be due Tuesday by 11:59 p.m. I know that sounds wonky. It's done with your time in mind, trying to be as respectful as possible. Because usually I work like a Monday through Friday type of thing or something to that effect. And usually people would rather have more time, but then when you have more time, you're usually posting things on like a Sunday evening, and I think that's kind of cruel. And so the reason why we start in the middle is just because that way you're not feeling compelled to be doing all of your work on Saturday or Sunday. Certainly, you can work on the weekends. I have no problem with that, but it's trying to make it so that you are not crunching everything on the weekends and feeling as though we have a whole bunch of due dates on Sunday evening. So that's the logic behind it. I hope that works for a lot of you. I know for those of you who are practicing teachers, that's tricky still. There's never really a good time because you're busy all the damn time when you're teaching, but hopefully that will be to your benefit and not to your detriment. If we need to ever rearrange things, I'm open to it. There's nothing holding me to Tuesday and Wednesday as far as ending and beginning new weeks. So if there's something that works better for you or that another professor has done that seemed to work really well, we're trying to make this the world's perfect Masters of English program. So if there's anything that someone else does that's just brilliant that I wouldn't have thought about, please let me know. We will have discussion posts every so often. I'm not looking for, this is not me babysitting. I'm not checking to make sure that you've read. Anybody who's willing to spend the time and money to get a master's degree, I'm assuming, is willing to do the work. So that's where I'm starting as far as my assumptions go. When we have discussion posts, I'm looking for a minimum of 200 words. If you would like to do more, that's fine as well. The whole point behind these discussion posts really are for you to think out loud with your peers. And so it's for an opportunity for you to say, I don't understand a word that I read for this article. Can someone help make meaning with me? Or I have a lot of questions. Or Nicole reads Jake's post and was like, wow, that was really insightful. I guess I never really thought about it from that perspective. This is a place for you to start conversations. And like I said, to think out loud. It is not a place for me to see, who read and who didn't. I'm not a bean counter when it comes to grading. I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to think with other people. So that's what discussion posts are meant to be. They can be more than 200 words. The reason why it's so short is because we will have other more expansive places for writing that I will talk about in just a second. As I mentioned, this is just a place for you to think. There are no requirements for responding to one another in these discussions. So you do not need to respond to your peers, but I would love for you to read them. And it is my suggestion that you check back in with D2L or get notifications when people respond to your posts, because I would love for there to be greater discourse happening there, so that when someone does respond to your posts, you don't just ghost them and not respond back to them. So that is probably the best thing you can do, is to double check and make sure if someone's asking more questions or responding to your ideas, that you're able to continue that conversation in an academic type of way. I'm asking you to abide by proper netiquette. This is not a place, it's a place where we can certainly mix it up and ask hard questions of one another, but it's not also a place for you to point fingers, be rude, and call out other people. So make sure that you, if you are responding to your peers and your classmates, that you are being responsible, and you're also being kind to one another, because sometimes it takes a lot of guts to share your honest opinions. Moving down course requirements, we will have weekly readings and those discussion boards. So that will be a small chunk. That will be 40%. And then we will have this section called projects. I want to talk about this and focus a good chunk of our time here on these projects, only because they're a little bit different. They're a little bit unique. And so this may be an opportunity where some of you have some questions, because I am asking you, for example, to start a blog. I'm asking you to start a blog because I would like for you to recognize your responsibility as a teacher, which makes you a really important community member, which also makes you a public intellectual of sorts. It gives you a platform and gives you something worth saying, and I think people would listen if more teachers had blogs. That said, I also realize, particularly after this summer, sort of the contested times we live in, and I don't want you to feel the pressure to say something that you feel deep inside that would also put you, your job, your livelihood, in danger. And so we will be tackling some difficult issues. We will have a whole section on social justice. And so as an outward-facing, publicly accessible blog, I understand the tension of putting your full and honest opinion out there in times when we just had to litigate whether or not critical race theory belonged in schools, whatever people were interpreting in that particular way. So I want this to be an authentic space for you to write, for audiences outside of our classroom, even though I'm giving you sort of the starting points of it. But if there are any issues or concerns with doing a blog that is public facing, that is open to public, that is open for other teachers, parents, students to read, and we need to figure out a plan, a plan or a way around that, because you live or work in a contentious district that may cause any issues for you, please let me know. I hope that's not the case, but I also recognize that may very well be the case. So that's the first concern. The other thing that you're probably asking is, what in the hell is a multi-genre blog? A multi-genre blog is simply a blog of multi-genres. And so it means that you'll have 5 blog posts that you will turn in throughout the entire semester. So every 3 weeks or thereabouts, you will turn in a multi-genre blog post, which simply means that you will choose from a collection of different blog types, so different genres, to respond in kind. So the first 3 weeks, we'll be reading about the history of English education in particular. And so you may choose to write up some sort of interview, perhaps. So it could be a mock interview. You may actually interview somebody about the history of English education. It could be written in the form of a speech, a poem, monologue. an op-ed, book review, research, paper, newspaper article, pamphlet, auto or regular biography, cartoon/comic strip, encyclopedia entry, timeline, newscast, poster, infographic. A lesson plan could be interesting. Letter, dialogue journal, diary entry, transcript, photograph, Twitter feed, podcast, screencast, spoken word performance, painting/picture, or anything your heart can or your mind can imagine and your heart's desire. Okay, so really it's looking to make sure that it doesn't feel like, and this is the big point, I don't just want discussion posts to move into a public forum. I want you to think with creativity. I want you to think with something different in mind than, this reading was really interesting. I agreed with this author or I disagreed with this author. I'm looking for you to do more of a synthesis in your multi-genre blog than anything. And I want you to be creative. That's really what I'm looking for. And somewhere in here, I did make sure to point out that risks are always handsomely rewarded. So just in case you're concerned about, feeling uncomfortable with this or preferring to phone it in because it would just be a little bit easier because you can do some of these really well, I'd love for you to stretch. I'd love to see you take a chance. And if you fall on your face with your attempt, for whatever reason, the technology doesn't work out, I promise you're not going to get punished. And again, as I mentioned, I'm not a bean counter when it comes to grading. I want to see you try something different. And I want to see you stretch as a writer as well. And so that's really the point here, is when you do these blog entries, to try something different, try something new, get out of your comfort zone. The next thing that is the big thing is journal clubs. Journal clubs come directly out of the medical field. If you think about it, diseases, as we are learning a lot about in the pandemic, change a lot and mutate, and treatments for diseases change a lot after you graduate. And so there's sort of this misnomer that once we teach teachers to teach, they're good to go for life. And I disagree with that. And I imagine a lot of you disagree with that too. And so journal clubs are something that are making their way into the education system as a way of saying, well, even though we learned a lot in school, we still have a lot more to learn. And so the journal club model is essentially where professionals bring current research to a group of like-minded professionals. So it could be disciplinary, could be grade level, it could be based on an entire high school trying to do something different. And they talk about what the research says. As professionals, that's probably something we should be engaging in. Odds are you're probably not. And so journal clubs are a way for you to try on this model in small groups by saying, okay, so we'll be learning about really 4 major things. We'll be talking about the history of English education. We'll be talking about writing and composition. We'll be talking about reading and literacies. And then we'll be talking about social justice as it relates to the field of English education. What I'd like for you to do is to express your particular interests and get into journal clubs with people with similar interests. It probably won't be the same, but similar interests in some way, shape, or form. And think about what is something that you would like to look a little bit deeper at when it comes to history, writing, reading, and social justice in English education. So perhaps it's the standards. Maybe you're really interested in standards, or project-based learning, or IEFA. If there's something that's really of interest to you in any of those types of areas, well, then you can say, I'd like to see what could we do with IEFA and what's the history of English education in IEFA. So maybe there's something with journal clubs, or perhaps there's something in research about working with Indigenous communities that you could find about, working with Indigenous communities in the literature. So you'll look for the research there. Or you'll look for then the connections with IEFA and literacy, and then writing, and then how does it apply to social justice? That was a little bit of an easier one. But whatever your interests are, I want you to pursue them with your journal club. So you'll be working in groups of maybe 3 or 4. And you will be bringing a journal article to those groups every 3 or 4 weeks. And then you'll be talking about what the research says. And then you're going to report out to the group with your findings. And so the point is, first of all, for you to explore something that's important and interesting to you. If you know what your research for your professional paper or thesis is going to be, this is a great way to dig a little bit deeper and start working on that literature review that you may be working on eventually. It is a great way also to figure out how this might apply what you're talking about in this class to research-based practices that you can apply to your own teaching context. The big point is that I want you to find value in this course. I've structured it in such a way that I'm going to give you some foundational texts, but after that, it's on you to figure out how you're going to tailor the content to your specific interests and needs. Journal clubs are one of those ways that you're going to be able to do that. The last major project is sort of a synthesis of everything. Really, it's coming out of your journal club and saying, I have this area of inquiry that's really fascinating to me. What does this all mean for the teaching of English in 2021? What does it mean to be a secondary English teacher today? There's a lot of things that make teaching kind of a fraught field because of, beyond other things, a pandemic, but also because social justice is not a readily accessible thing that happens in all places. It is also hotly contested. So as we talk about social justice, as we talk about what we even mean by reading today, what do we mean by literacy or literacies today? When we talk about tailoring our teaching to what the students know and the gifts that they bring to classrooms, we have to reimagine what teaching looks like. So what are we going to do to reimagine this field? That's a lot of what you're going to be doing with this final project. I know that's very wide open. That's done on purpose. It's meant to help propel the work that you're doing already in your other classes. So if you're working on your professional paper, this is a great space for you to take what you've been reading in your journal clubs and say, well, what English teaching means in 2021 is this. And if there are other questions that you would like to answer by answering that question, this is your opportunity to do that. And so this is just a giant inquiry project at the very end. We will have more conversations as to what this project might look like, because it might look different for someone who's starting their MA program today versus someone who's getting started with the professional paper process. And so we will reimagine, and perhaps I can give you some more guidance as the course goes along. Others, I think you will have some questions that sort of pop up that you would like answered. And this research project can give you an opportunity to do that as well. So I have some guiding questions over here. How has our exploration of the foundations of English education helped you see curriculum or teaching practices new or differently? How might you engage your students in interrogating the school subject too, rather than seeing it as a stable and fixed entity? Okay, and so that will be due December 17th by 11:59. So that brings us to the end of the semester. But I want you to be thinking about these questions today. I want you to think about your interests, because your interests will help facilitate journal clubs as well. What is it that you want to know more about with regard to the foundations of English education, about what it is we do? So when you strip away all the other BS and all the things that other teachers are doing that are getting them accolades and all the other extra things that teachers are asked to do for free without extra pay, I want you to strip away all those extra things and think to yourself, what is it that English education is meant to do? What is our purpose as English educators, and how do we make sure that we are meeting the needs of students today? Grading policy is here. You can see that. Attendance, since this is an online class, attendance isn't the same thing as traditional face-to-face. It's really measured by your work. And so making sure that you are turning your work in. Please do not turn in your work late. Like I said, I'm a pretty easy grader so long as you're doing your work. And you're showing some growth, and you're showing some stretch, and you're trying to do something special in this class. It's really not hard to be successful in this class, but it is also one of those things where you have to turn your work in. If you don't turn your work in, that's where people start losing points. I expect you to be honest with your work, so no plagiarism, but also, as I talked about, netiquette is important, and making sure that you are being respectful of the people who are in this class and the fact that not everybody comes from the same background that you do. It's always better to ask questions than point fingers. And so if there are things that are confusing to you and you're realizing that people are bringing something that you've never thought about in class, then I think this is a great opportunity for you to ask those questions. Real quickly, I'll show you the schedule. It's probably easier if you go through this. But as I mentioned, our course is structured in those 4 major topics: history of English education, writing, literacy, social justice. And then those final weeks are really dedicated to helping you have space to work on your final inquiry projects. And so these first 3 weeks are going to be based on the history. And so usually the readings will happen this way: history of the subjects, so the history of English education, current issues, and then where are we going is going to be part of your journal club. So you'll answer that question: where are we going? Then we'll hop over here: literacy, history of literacy, where are we today? And then your journal club will answer: where are we going with literacy in the future? And in the midst of all those types of things, you'll see your first multi-genre blog will be due on 9/8. Okay. So, or sorry, 9/14. This is the week of 9/8. On 9/14, your first multi-genre blog based on the history of English education. So all the readings we would have done up to that point, plus your journal club articles, you can include those as part of your synthesis. That will be what will be due. Your multi-genre blog 1 will be due by 9/14 at 11:59. Okay. And so that's your first kind of big thing there. You'll also have a discussion post up here that will be due by 9/7. And that is, what are you interested in? What do you want to know more about? This is me trying to figure out, how can I help organize these journal clubs in such a way that you are answering questions and supporting one another in these journal club groups? And so tell me pretty honestly what you would like to know more about as we're going through the course in this discussion post here for 9/7. That way I can help facilitate those groups as much as possible. And as we go up to this first week here, you're going to read this Doing Multi-Genre Inquiry article. This goes through the way another professor has done multi-genre inquiry, why he did it with pre-service teachers, so not master's level, but pre-service teachers, as a way of trying to help them develop their teaching philosophies. The other thing that's big for this week is setting up your blog. So you have the opportunity to set up your blog any which way using whatever platform you'd like. If you already have a blog and you would like to build on top of that blog, that's fine by me. You will be posting links to the specific blogs as we go through the course. That way we know where to look as we are trying to read each other's blogs. And so that is the point there. I gave you in D2L, if you look here, one of my big deals and the things that I like is the checklist, if I can pull that up. And I promise I'm going to leave time for questions. I will stop blathering on in just a second. So if you go over to week 1, I've organized everything in the checklist so that you know what you have to do. So I will put in an announcement probably by tomorrow, talking about some of the general things that are just due for the week. And so you will see a video announcement there. You'll read doing multi-genre inquiry, and I've linked the article there. You'll set up your blog. I've given you a couple of examples for those of you who are unfamiliar with setting up a website or a blog. It's become much easier since when I started blogging. So you can do Wix, Weebly. For those of you who are in the Google ecosystem, Blogger works really easy and is pretty simple. I like WordPress. It's a little bit higher of a threshold, but not much. Promise it's not too hard. And so I'm giving you examples here, and you'll have your first blog post that you will have to do. and then you'll submit a link to that first blog post by August 31st, okay? So that first blog post is going to be, what does it mean to be an English teacher in 2021? This is something we will revisit at the end of the class. And so your honest opinions of what it means to be an English teacher in 2021, and then provide a little bit more of a background of this blog. So if this is a brand new blog, let's say you don't have another blog that you're linking to, give your readership an idea of the purpose of the blog. And so if there's a home page or something to that effect, or a splash page or landing page that says, "Hi, this is Jake Lyle's blog. I'll be sharing some honest thoughts about teaching and learning here in Bozeman, Montana." So you can give some sort of honest opinion or honest appraisal of what the blog may become, and as well as answering the question, what does it mean to be an English teacher in 2021? For our non-teachers, and I use that term lightly because obviously we know that everyone is a teacher. If you are not a secondary English teacher, which we do have a couple of those in the class, you may choose to explore in this first blog post, what is the role of English, reading and writing, however you want to interpret this term, English in 2021. Why does it matter? So answering those questions and anything else that may be valuable could be a great way, I think, of starting off this blog. But I would like you to at least answer, what does it mean to be an English teacher in 2021? Because it is something that I would like for us to revisit at the very end of the class as well. So you will share a link to your first blog post using this discussion board linked here. And all you have to do is share the link. If you'd like to give some background as well, trepidation, some deeper thoughts, some things that you held back on in this discussion post, that's fine as well. But all you really have to do is provide the link inside the discussion board for your first blog post. All right, so that is where I'm going to pause at least, and I'm going to open things up for conversation, questions, anything that needs some clarification from anybody before we kind of wrap things up here.
I'm just wondering where we post our links.
So you post your links. If you go to the checklist, Nicole, let me reshare, sorry. If you go to the checklist, and hopefully it's visible. That's the other thing that I kind of hate about D2L. If you can see the checklist, hopefully, you can go down in the checklist, and it says share your blog with the course by providing a link to your first blog post using this discussion board. And if you click on this, that should take you to the discussion board.
The discussion board. Okay. Or just go to the discussion board and it's there too.
Yep. If you go to the discussion board right now, I've created 2 forums. I don't know that it so much matters for the forums, but one is for multi-genre blog forum, and this is the journal clubs forum. If you are chomping at the bit to be writing about your interests and you're just in D2L and you're like, let me get this over with, you can also go over here to share your ideas of what you're hot and bothered about with regard to English education. You can post that as well if you'd like to get ahead of things just a little bit. I was going to be extra ambitious, just to clarify with regard to the content section here. I was going to post like all 15 weeks all at once down here, and I didn't do that because I don't know what's going to work for y'all. Like, you may realize like the checklists suck, and I didn't want to create all the checklists and then have to redo them. So the other thing I'd like to mention just while I'm over here in D2L and showing the navigation, if things aren't working for you and I forget to ask, midway, please don't, hesitate. Don't feel as though you're going to hurt my feelings if you're like, Fassbender, this checklist thing sucks. Like, why are we doing this? I don't know. I never know how to navigate things. I don't know where to find the readings. Just let me know. And also the nice thing is if you offer a suggestion to fix the problem, I am totally open to that. So if there's something I could be doing better, I would love to know what that is. I am very much open to making this as functional as possible so that it's as easy as possible for all of you. Other things I can do to show around here, any other questions that anybody has?
I will just comment that I think it's laid out exceptionally well. That everything looks awesome. I don't see any busy work. I love the idea of the blog posts. I love the idea of the journal groups and the rationale behind it. And I like what I can imagine liking what that project number 3 is going to turn into. So I appreciate the time you put into this, because we as teachers understand how much time and thought goes into these things. I think it looks really good. I think it looks like it might be one of the easiest to navigate that have been thrown at me in the past 5 years at MSU. So good job. I'm looking forward to it.
Listen, Jake, don't even bother doing the blogs or anything. You get an A. No need to do any of the work. Compliments will get you far in a Fassbender class. One thing, what?
That's not fair.
Well, he was the first one to think to compliment the professor, which is brilliant. One thing I will say, just to a point, like I was working up to the last minute because I was like, oh, what if we did this? But what if we did this? And so like I do have one of those minds that's like, maybe we'll just switch everything around and not do that at all. And so again, the other thing that's important, you'll see that in the syllabus. If there's readings that you stumble upon as you're doing the journal clubs and you're like, everybody needs to read this, like, please let me know, and we will add it into the course. I'm a habit of routine. That's sort of my thing. That's why we're working in these like 3-week rotations, because I feel like it gives a little bit of momentum and it also allows for a little bit more predictability. I know that routines also get old. So if there is a change of pace that we need, that's fine as well. But the idea was like, let's read for a little bit, then give you some independent time to sort of work through your journal clubs, do a multi-genre blog, and then we'll go back on that rotation one more time. And so the idea is to get you into a groove. But I'm a creature of habit, and so that works for me. If it doesn't work for you and you just need a more scattershot course, I apologize. I don't know that I'll be able to do it because it'd drive me crazy. But I'm always open to more flexible and changing things up. I'm okay with changing things up as well. Is there anything else we can do, or any other comments or questions that I can help answer before we log off?
Can I just compliment you now? Because like
I'm here for it. That's really the purpose of this evening. Go ahead, Nicole.
no, I'm just gonna jump on the bandwagon with Jake and just like, yes, this is wonderful. Actually, no, it is, because it's helpful to be moving in the directions we need to move with our papers, while we're adding good relevant information. So thank you.
And that was the other piece,
Yeah.
is I'd rather you work towards the things that you care about, which is hopefully all different stuff, right? And that's the gift that you all have, as I mentioned, is, your work with civic empathy, Nicole, is something that other people can really learn about. And you'll see there's a lot of Nicole Mira in the class, because I know Nicole likes Nicole Mira, and so there's a whole section.
We share a name.
Yeah, and there's a really cool presentation on speculative education towards the end in the social justice unit, and so I know that's your interest. I've already had a couple people who say like, I was going to put Paulo Freire in my paper at the end, and you may not recognize this as a gift, but nobody made me read Paulo Freire, and it's one of these names that everybody talks about, and they have a handful of concepts that they throw around, and I can speak about it if I'm at a cocktail party, but nobody really has either read the book itself. They just have some of the concepts, and so I hope you realize that this is one of those opportunities to read a book that everybody talks about in education, whether you're English, science, math, social studies. It's not discipline specific, and that you sort of have that under your belt, so that if you choose to also then go on to an EDD or PhD or something like that, you'll have the Paulo Freire language that you can speak with. And so it was something I wish somebody had done for me, and it's one of those things that I hope will be beneficial to y'all. All right, Christina, time for you to say something nice about me.
We're actually kind of hungry, so if you could start cooking dinner.
Oh, goodness.
You should just tell him he has good taste in women.
There you go. There you go. That would be the smart thing to do there. Well, it is one of those things too, where I'm sure after we log off, she'll take me down a peg or two. So she's good for that. Well, if there are no other comments, questions, concerns, I'm happy to sort of log off. But please, if there's ever anything that you need, I'm here via email. My number is in my email. If you need it, it's 910-274-4624. I will put it in the chat. I'm always available just to sort of talk about things. Again, I also realize the potential conflicts that happen with putting an outward-facing blog and a public one. So if there's anything that anybody needs as far as those types of concerns, please let me know. I don't want the classness of your master's program to stand in the way of any success that you would otherwise feel when writing for a public audience. So I really am excited to work with all of you. And I'm sure as your peers also pop in and check out this video, I hope this has been useful to go through the syllabus. So thanks, y'all. I'm going to stop recording. I look forward to a wonderful semester with everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys.